Hello and good morning. This is today's Q&A call. So if you have questions or something you want me to talk about, please drop it down in the chat box. Let me know what's going on. What do you need help with? Good morning. It's actually a little chilly here in Southern California for me. So I'm like 68 degrees, a little cold for me. So again, if you have questions, if there's something you want me to focus on or show you, demonstrate, drop it in the chat box. Let me know what it is that you would like me to start. So I'm having an issue with the rate and term refinance, paying off the current mortgage, adding closing costs, and arriving at the new loan amount. Perfect. Let's start with the rate and term refinance. So I'm going to start with new client. And we are going to use Kathy's name. Of course, I would place in a phone number. Remember, this phone number allows you to have a phone number on the alert when you receive an alert. And finally, I like putting refi, and I'm going to close it August of 2020. Clicking on my next button. Now I can go in and place in information. So I would want to place in just my basic address. It's the only thing I would use here. Remember, anything on this top section or anything on the bottom section, that's solely for you. It doesn't even show up on the presentation. Now I'm going to do my goal. I like using other no matter what refinance I'm using. It doesn't show up on the presentation when you click on them, but if you do put pay off my debt, and let's say you put 20,000 in there, it will automatically add that 20,000 to the payoff amount that you put in the current loan assumption. But I'm just going to leave it on other. I like playing with my own numbers. And I'm going to click on next. The only thing I fill in here is I only fill in my current property value. So I'm going to say 350. Now, a lot of people are probably going, why aren't you filling in the other ones? Because I'm doing a current refinance. I'm not filling them in because these other ones are going to be filled in when I use my current mortgage and I fill in that information. However, if I do have MI and I want to demonstrate that MI dropping off, I could put in the property value at the last transaction. So where it was when they got that MI, and that's going to show the proper MI drop off. But current total payoff amount, I'm going to have at the current mortgage. I'm going to adjust it if I need to. And the current monthly mortgage payment, that's going to configure over here with that P&I payment. So now I'm going to put in the current information on the loan. So what was the first date of the loan? And I'm just going to make up a date. So let's say you don't have this information. It is out there everywhere you go. So if you were to look it up in title, you'll find it in title. If you were to pull credit, you'll find it in credit. If you have HomeBot, you'll find it in HomeBot. Many times Zillow or Redfin will even have the amount that it was purchased and the day that that purchase was. The original loan amount, that's going to be the highest amount owed on the debt on the credit report. Title's going to have it on there again, and so is HomeBot. Anything that's connecting or pulling from title, there are several programs out there now that do pull from title for you to give you all the information. So you're going to pull that over. So I'm going to say 289. I'm going to say when they did this in 2011, interest rates were a bit higher, let's say 4.75. And you will notice I have that 289 here. As soon as I put that term in there, it's going to give me a remaining balance. I'm not overly concerned what this remaining balance is. I'm more concerned that I have the P&I payment right. So on that P&I payment, let's say that that P&I payment is $10 low. I can go up here and adjust this amount in order to adjust my P&I payment. So if it's $10 low, let's put $292. Then it will come in and it will adjust that P&I payment. Now, what if this amount is not right at that point? At this point, I can get the statement or the payoff or whatever I have that shows that remaining balance, and I can simply type right over it. So now I have everything correct on here. Now I can go over and I'm going to put in the actual hazard insurance, and I'm going to put in the actual property tax. If I have debt I'm paying off, I could include the debt payment. I can type debt right here, whoops, and I could put in the total of the debt. And I'm just going to put debt in here now because I'm sure someone on here needs to see debt consol, but we're going to do a straight refi first. Now, if I'm concerned about the debt to income ratio, I can put this in here. If they have any remaining debt that they are going to keep, I'm going to say they have a $350 car payment. I can place that in there as well. This is not required. Nothing in the affordability, nothing in the expenditure is required for you to fill in. You can choose to fill it in if you need the debt to income ratio, but otherwise I would not even go into here. I would go from assumptions right into product. So any questions about that refi? And again, you can drop any questions down in the chat box. And then after this, we'll get into some fee template info. Okay, looks like we're good. We're going to go to our first product. First product I'm going to do is I'm going to roll it back to a 30-year fix. I always like just rolling it into a 30-year fix when I do my first product, unless I absolutely know it's off the table, then I'll do the 15. I am going to copy from the original, clicking on OK. That's going to give me two identical loan scenarios. It's going to pull over the homeowner's insurance. It's going to pull over the property tax. It's going to pull over the debt. Any of that information, it's going to pull into here. Then I can come down here, and right now you see they have a down payment amount. We don't want to show a down payment amount, so I'm going to switch it over. Is this a refinance? Yes. And that is when it turns that down payment into showing how much equity they have. Last thing I would do is I would run my rates, figure out what my rates are, and place my interest rate in there. Going to the next page, I would add in my closing cost details. This is why templates are important and so valuable. I can come up here, I can find whichever template I need, simply drop in that template, and I'm ready to roll. If you have closing corp, you would add closing corp at the time. That's smart fees. So you have to be an integration to have that integration in there, and I'm going to apply it to the loan. Now you're going to see I have APR and non-APR cost in there. If I have points, I could put in my points in there. If I have prepaid days of interest, I'm going to add those in there. And the last thing I'm going to go over here, and I am going to add in my reserve months. So hazard insurance and property tax pulled over for me. Now, what you will notice is I have, and I'm going to just go back one button, I have cash to close. We do not want to see cash to close in this case. So what I'm going to do is after I have done everything, it's set up exactly how I want it, except for the loan amount hasn't been increased, the amount of the cash, I'm going to go back into my closing cost details, and I am going to add all fees to loan and apply it to the loan. I am then going to, and you'll see I still have a small amount here. That small amount is my points and my prepaids. Now when I advance to the next page, it will show 0. So everything has been rolled into the loan amount for me. I don't have to think about the math. All I have to do is click some buttons, and it's super easy. Is that all good, Kathy? Nope, there we go. So now, and raise your hand because I don't want to go through it if no one wants it. Does anyone want to see how to roll that debt now into the loan as well? Okay, we're going to go ahead and roll that debt in too. So I'm going to lower everyone's hands. So now to do that debt into there, I'm going to add a second product. And this one's going to be 30-year pay off debt. Because I've established a core product, and I'm going to call this product 1, that 30-year fix. This is my core product. It has all my closing costs. It has everything in there. I am always, after this point, going to copy my core product. So I am going to copy that 30-year fix so I don't have to go in and mess with fees anymore. All I'm going to deal with at this point forward is anything that has to do with the product. So we want to add debt. At this point, the easiest way to add debt is to come over here, click my next page. In closing cost detail, there is a fee in there, add fee, and it is debt payoff. I'm going to click on my debt payoff. Let's say they have $15,000 of debt. I'm going to add that $15,000 of debt here. I'm going to add it to the loan amount. That's going to make that loan amount increase $15,000. And I'm going to apply it to the loan. So now you'll see my loan amount has increased $15,000. I still have 0 out because more likely that debt is going to be taken care of in the process of the escrow. The client's never going to see it when they're paying off debt. Escrow is going to handle it. And then I'm going to go to my next page and I'm going to delete that extra debt. Now I'm just going to click back so we can see the little graph. So we can see now with that debt paid off, their debt to income ratio has decreased considerably. Now there's another option. Let's say they're doing home improvements and they want cash in hand. They don't want to pay it off in escrow. In order to show them cash in hand, you're going to add another product. And again, we're copying that core product. We're going to do 30-year fixed. And let's say we're going to plus that 15 that we're paying off debt. They want to pull another $10,000 out for their home improvement. So this is with debt plus home improvement. If I can type it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the one that is closest to the scenario that I want to start off with. I don't want to have to re-enter the debt, so I'm going to start off with that debt one. In order to show that $10,000 here that's coming out in cash, I'm simply going to increase the base loan amount. So instead of 231, my base loan amount will be 241. Of course, interest rates are going to adjust too whenever you have any type of payoff, unless it's a first and a second that was consumed together. So I would adjust the interest rate. In this one, I'm not going to show that. And now you see the $10,000. So here's the current, here's a straight refi, here's paying off debt where it's handled in escrow, and here is having money come back into the client's pocket. Any questions? You'll notice once you have that core product, it becomes really easy, because anything you're paying off and it's handled in escrow, you just place it in as a fee and you add it to the loan amount. If it's money coming back to the client, you simply increase the loan amount that the client has to have. So all you do is increase the one that says base loan amount. Let's go ahead and open this up and look at what it looks like for anyone not as familiar. And now you can see in here, here's the different scenarios. Here's their payments. In this spot, it says cash out instead of cash to close. Shows that $10,000. Shows the difference in your monthly savings. Over here in the more information, highlight that debt. Show that we paid it off. In the closing cost one, nothing in here is unusual or different from one to the other. You'll see the prepaid accounts does have that extra $15,000 in there. That is the $15,000 of the money that is being handled, and it's handled during the prepaids because it's handled in escrow. So that's where that money is coming from. That's the payoff of the debt. No, the one is the payment of the 30-year with the debt. So this one here includes the debt in it. There's the $650, but it has everything in there. It's going to be less than the current simply because the interest rate is less. Now the one here, the payment becomes less, and here's the basic payments. It becomes less because we also have the less of the debt, and they have the lower payment because of the interest rate. And on this one, it's less because of the same factor, but we also have it higher than this one because of the extra money. So all of these include property tax, but it's this base loan amount. That P&I payment is going down because we're spreading it out over 30 years instead of what they had. Does that make sense, Michelle? Perfect. Okay, top right. Here we have the remainder. This is the most expensive. This is savings. Savings over 60 months. This is a very important window when we're looking at refinances. Let's say the client is only going to keep the house for 2 years. I'm going to come in here in the analysis area and place 2 years in there. So that's 24 months. What we're going to be looking at in 24 months is it going to be an advantage for the client to pay off their debt or to do anything in the 24 months? If you look at the straight 30-year fixed, you can see in 2 years in this scenario, it's still going to be an advantage to the client. So in here, you've got to remember, I'm not including the interest that's being paid on the credit cards. So this is the one you really want to focus on the time frame of when it's going to be an advantage with a straight refi, because these take into consideration that extra debt of the credit cards. what we're adding together here is the interest in MI plus closing cost. Any principal is going towards building equity, and we're taking that equity out of the picture. So we just want to focus on the true cost. So interest in MI plus closing cost. And finally, I'm showing how much interest is being paid over the time frame. So in this case, I might go to show something else. I might go to how is principal? How much money is going towards principal? Because with the lower interest rate, more money is being applied towards the principal than to the interest. Any questions on this? Now, how many people in here are going to have their client go, I don't want to roll from 19 years back to 30 years? Raise your hand. That's going to be a concern. We all know it. So what am I going to do? I am going to come into the analysis page, and you'll see I'm on the analysis page. On the side, it says analysis. And I am going to go to my adjust reinvestment strategy. From this point, I have the savings. The difference in the payments is up here for each loan scenario. Here is where I can plug in reduction payments. So if they're comfortable at their current loan scenario, I can plug in this whole amount. But let's say they actually need a couple extra $100 wiggle room because right now finances are tight. I'm only going to apply $300 of this one. So by applying $300, they're back down to almost the same spot that they were, but now they have an extra $200 a month for wiggle room. I'm going to do the same thing in the others. I want to keep about $200 up here. So I'm going to apply money towards them. So now they all have about the same amount of money, extra wiggle room that the client asked for. But now we can see from this 19 years, they went down to 13 years, plus they paid off all their credit. On this one, they went down, they paid off their credit, and they fixed their house. So I can really show it to the client here, all the stuff that they can do. Is the payment amount lower on the 30-year fix because with debt, it doesn't include tax? Oh, I'm sorry, I already did that one. I thought it blinked. So now when I go here, I'm going to show that they still have that extra money that they're saying they need some wiggle room. Their expenses are a little tight, but in the more information, we can now demonstrate it in here. They have those extra payments. And in the reinvestment section, you can see also here's where those extra payments would come into play. So this is a great example for an older couple preparing to retire. They want to do the safe thing. But let's talk about a younger couple who is willing to take a little bit more risk. I'm going to find a financial advisor that I can work with. I'm going to ask him, what was your average rate of return the last few years? When he tells me, instead of me applying money towards principal up here, I'm going to come down here, and whatever he tells me, I'm going to say his average rate of return was 5.75 for the last 2 years. And I'm going to then place in that $300 here. I'm going to do the same thing on the other ones, 5.75, 5.75, and this one was 880, and this one was, I want to say it was 860. Let's do a quick check. Nope, it was 840. So now, instead of me investing the money here into principal to reduce the term of the loan, I'm going to show them here investing it into a savings account and rate of return. The next thing I want to do is on the long-term type here, I'm going to ask my client, how long do you expect to stay in this house? How long is this scenario going to be for you? And let's say they say their plan is to buy up in 7 years. I'm going to set that on 7 years. Then I'm going to show them total net worth, because I want to be able to show my client in 7 years what's going to be of more value. In my presentation, I'm going to have to reopen it because I've clicked so much. In my presentation, what you will now see is here's my clients. They still have that $200,000 or $200 left, but me, I did not reduce their term. Instead, I said, let's work on growing wealth. So here is where we can see they now have a liquid account. So they then would have the advantage, because we know this money here is more liquid and easier to obtain than if it's tied into the house. So let's say they love the house, they want to stay there. They can use this money to buy a second property for an investment property. You can help set them up to continue growing wealth for that young family so they can really meet the needs of their family versus tying it all into the house. So we want to make sure we're thinking about the type of client we have and what's going to be best for their scenario. Any questions on this? And hold on, Robert, I'm trying to pull it over. I unmuted you. Go ahead and unmute. Yep.
Question. So that assets, that's based on the reinvestment of that 5.75% rate of return. Am I correct?
That is correct.
Okay, that's all I needed. Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions? Okay, so here's a question that does pertain to purchase or to the refi. So what if I don't have the borrower's current mortgage information? I would like to compare rates and fee options for a rate shopper. Borrower only provided basic information, loan amount, and approximate value of loan. Did they give you the interest rate? Hopefully they gave you the interest rate, because without the interest rate, that's not something you can just pull. But HomeBot has it. You can look at your HomeBot if you have HomeBot. If you don't have HomeBot, you haven't pulled credit, you need someone within title that will give you access to pull title on the properties. So you want to make sure that you have that somebody in your pocket that has given you access to a title company. And I probably still have access to the one that I had. Let's see, 365 title, I think is what it's called. We'll see if I still have access so I can show you a sample. I haven't gone in here for a couple of years, so. Nope, looks like they've taken my login out, finally. So that's what I would suggest, is getting a title company. The other thing you can do, Lanny, is if you go into Zillow, or if you go into, let's look at Zillow, and you go in here, you can kind of estimate based on the property. I'm just going to put in a random property address. Let's see. Oops, it didn't take it, but here. You go into a property and you scroll down, you will find that it has a history of the price. In many cases, it's going to be one of three products. It's going to be a basic 30-year fixed with 20% down. It's going to be a 30-year fixed for 5% down, or it's going to be an FHA 3.5%. You can take 20% of that sold price here, and then you can assume that the 20% is what they put down, and then go from that point. So you can look it up in here and see if it ends up coming out to about the same amount that they're saying they have left to pay. It's easy to back out numbers. Numbers don't lie. Numbers are the easiest thing to work with when you're in there. Interest rate is not in here, but hopefully, like I said, hopefully the client did give it to you, because the client is asking, for a comparison. So unless you have their interest rate, I would just say, you know what, I really can't give it to you until I have your interest rate because of because of how I prep it. I really want you to see the advantages compared to your current loan. Yeah, interest rate is something you can't find from anything that I'm aware of. HomeBot might have it. I haven't dug deep enough in HomeBot to see. Yep, you're welcome. So we are I'm going to go back to the top of my list to look down the questions. So I have questions on fees. So if you're recreating your fee worksheet, you're actually going to create a fee template. If you go into your settings and you go into fee templates, you're going to start here and you're going to start by creating a new template. That's the first thing you would do. You would call this template a name. This is my bill template. I'm not going to put a state on there. I'm just going to click on OK. Now, here at Mortgage Coach, we don't have any of your fees. We have no information for you on your fees. That is something that if you don't have your fees, you need to go to title, escrow, your manager, someone else to ask what your fees are and to ask them for a loan estimate so you have it available. We can't help with what are my fees. But once you have that, you're going to enter in all of your fees in here except, and this is the important thing, do not enter your prepaid days of interest. Do not enter your hazard or property tax, anything about hazard insurance or property tax. I put those, and I spelled enter wrong. I put those into the fee or into the chat box. Those are the ones you don't want to enter. Everything else can come in here. The ones that I get the most questions about are title and escrow accounts. What do I do with that, Tina? Because it changes based on the house. Absolutely. It changes based on the house. But you can take, if you're a seasoned loan officer, take the last 10 loans that you've done and come up with a percentage and use a percentage. When I add a fee in here, I can put it as a dollar amount or I can put it as a percentage amount. If I've looked it up, I might go in and it might be only 0.003. And I can add that 0.003 in there and then it'll be able to be listed. Now, APR fees. APR fees are anything entered into the first section of your loan estimates, that's section A. Those are all APR. Settlement, any type of settlement fees are also APR. But the APR fees are state by state. So I can't tell you exactly any others that are APR for you. But I do know anything in that A box is an APR fee. Settlement fee is also always an APR fee. Now let's say you've done this and You have a bunch of fee templates in here and none of them are relevant. You don't like them. You haven't used Mortgage Coach for a little while. You want to delete stuff out. You may have your little delete button here. Some enterprises have it turned off so you just can't delete them. So let's say you can't delete them, but you want to be able to quickly see your fee template that you use all the time. Click on that template, click on the name, and give it some kind of special character in the front to identify it. So you can quickly go and find that identifying character. So that's going to allow you to quickly identify it, but this is how you would end up having it look. Processing fee, and I have a couple of processing fees. Let's change this one to a settlement fee so it makes sense. APR, credit report, lender title. I don't have an appraisal on there. Any e-docs, escrow, title insurance, all of that's going to be listed in here. But what I'm not going to see is prepaid days of interest, hazard insurance reserves, property tax reserves. I don't want to see that in here because that's all collected on that second page. So great question. And we'll go to that one really quick because it's an easy question or answer. The question is there a way to delete products within the customer scenario instead of deselecting it? No, that's the answer. But for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, if you have a product over here and you're like, client doesn't want to see all this, I want to delete one of them, you cannot delete it. The only thing you can do is come in here and turn it off. So even though I set up that 30-year, if I don't want to show that, if that's not an option on the table, they're deciding, should we pull out cash? I'm just going to turn that off. Then when I go to the presentation, it's not going to show up in the presentation. Going back up, I'm reading questions. So, and you'll see it's not in there. So a purchase. So your client does not have the ability to modify anything on the presentation. Only you have the ability to modify it. The client only needs this link right here in the share. You send that link to them one time unless they lose it, and then you can resend it, but it's always the same presentation. And you have to go in and make any changes. Now, the reason we've done this is because of marketing reasons. It takes a client to see your name, hear your name, associate you with the product 5 to 7 times before they decide to use you. So the more you're in front of the client, the better off it is for you. Now, I know some people might disagree with that, but that's just true marketing research based on marketing. So that's what we go by. Now, once we have gone in there, a purchase, and my first question is, if you're doing a purchase, okay, we can do a purchase with the rent versus own. So we're going to do a purchase with a rent versus own, but I'm going to show you a little trick. I'm going to go in and I'm going to start off with, I could start off with a strategy template, and this is the easiest and the fastest. So raise your hand if you want me to start with a strategy template. So I'm going to start with the strategy template because it is the easiest and fastest things to do. I will slightly explain the strategy template, but I will also give everyone a list of some training in case you're not familiar with the strategy template. I also only have about 10 minutes left because I have to jump into another call. So when I start in with the strategy template, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to decide what kind of scenario fits my client. What a strategy template is it is a completed scenario that does not include client-specific information. So points versus no points, conventional versus a bond loan, VA, points versus no points. These are all the type of products that are already in here. So I'm going to say it's a points versus no points. Now, if I need to add my closing costs and such, or I need to change that template up, I can click on Edit Template, and that will allow me to make any changes within the strategy template. However, I'm going to start with a new client. So I'm going to click right here on New Client, and I would type in my client's name. I would type in my client's phone number, and I would type in that it's a purchase, and let's say September 2020. Now, with this strategy template, a lot of stuff is in there, but I'm going to put in your new home. And at minimum, I'm going to put a state. These are the minimum things I would put in. This is for a fast, easy template. My purchase a new home is already in here. Assumptions, again, if I'm concerned about debt to income ratios, I can place this information in here. If I'm not, I'm going to the, whoops, I forgot one thing that's important. In the assumptions, I do need to put in what they qualify for. Let's say 289. So that's the only one I have to put in there in the assumptions. Then I can go right to my 30-year fixed with points. So this is, or without points. So this is the lower interest rate. I'm going to say 3.25. You'll notice all my fees, actually I have no APR fees, but all my fees, everything would be in here ready for my client. My second loan scenario is with points. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to pay the points. Let's say it pays it down to 3%, and they're paying 2 points. If I need to adjust this, I can quickly adjust it. So I would have a complete scenario by doing this scenario through a strategy template and only entering in minimal information: client name, phone number, presentation, qualifying amount, and interest rates. Then anything else specific to the client. Maybe I need to enter in an HOA because of the property they're looking at. Maybe they're looking at something that has Melrose. I can type in Melrose here and I can put that Melrose in. So I have that ability to adjust it afterwards. But now all I need to do is send it to the client. Actually, I would add a video just because adding video is a better marketing. But you'll notice it is a complete scenario with everything in there for my clients because I put information in already. You'll notice the points are in here. I do have hazard insurance and property tax in there. I will show you, I based it off of percentages. So automatically, based on my loan amount, I'm going to have something placed in there as an estimate based on the amount that my client qualifies for. So any questions on that so far? Okay, now what if this client is a rental client? After I use my strategy template and I set up the basics, prepare a rent versus own, I click on yes. Yes, I have this template set up, and you should have received some templates depending on how old your client or how old your account is. You should have some strategy templates in your account already. They don't have your closing cost in there. They don't have your hazard insurance, property tax, and reserve months in there. Everything else is in there. So you need to do that edit to add closing cost, property tax, hazard insurance, and reserves. So now if I want to switch this to a rent versus own, All I have to do is click on yes on the rent, and I'm actually going to cheat and see where their payment is, about $1,300. Now I'm going to go into the assumptions. Now the assumptions changes to rental insurance or rental information. So I'm going to say they're currently renting at $1,300 a month. They have a 3% rental increase. Their monthly renter insurance, I'm going to say, is $26. And now other monthly rental expenses. This is going to be anything that they have to pay to because they are renting the property. Extra storage, carport, garage, washer, dryer, any other factor, pet deposits, anything that's going to go away once they're no longer renting. I'm going to say they're paying $75 a month for a carport. So now when I go in and I open this up, and I'm going to go down to open it up the right way and add a quote date. Now what you will see is I've added the rental column to it. So now my clients can see, here's based on rent. This is what I'm throwing away. Here's my home that I can go in and I can buy. And what you want to highlight is total payment here, because that's going to show them what they have to come to the table. And you'll be able to see the net monthly payment. Now, what is the difference between the total payment and the net monthly payment? Total payment is everything taken into consideration. The net monthly payment is going to take out any money that is applied towards principal. This is money out of pocket. This is money out of pocket. I want to make sure I'm comparing apples to apples. When I scroll down here, remember this is the net monthly payment. This is based on unrecoverable cost, money that is being thrown away by your clients. And thrown away meaning they will never see it again. Rent versus principal paid in 60 months, you can see they have grown $24,000, almost $25,000 in equity in the first 5 years, while they have disposed of $89,000. And then rent versus principal paid in 10 years. I would change these windows up in my analysis screen based on my client's goals. So here I can show rent versus principal paid. That is what I would leave it on if I'm not showing a tax benefit. But here I would change it to net worth almost every time when I'm doing this scenario, because I want people to see very clearly, and it hasn't changed over yet, there we go, that they have no net worth here, but wow, in 10 years, they have $250,000 in net worth. So I can quickly show and demonstrate my client, why is it you want to buy today versus sitting on the fence? And there's another one you can do called a cost of weight that is also a really great presentation. You're welcome. I'm going to go into the YouTube site because I do want to give you this playlist for anyone who is new or anyone wanting to one-up and show some different strategies that you're not comfortable with yet. Just about everything's in here. So you can come in here and you can scan through here to be able to see just about anything you need to build. It starts from the very beginning with the settings. It shows you your fee templates, product templates. Here's the one on strategy templates. Then we have a basic purchase. This is me and Dave doing how to create a total cost analysis faster. We have a basic refi. We have a basic rent versus own in here. Then open house, seller buy down. It's all in here. So I'm going to copy this and place it in the chat box for everyone. So you'll want to click on that, and then you'll want to save it to your computer until you no longer need it. So there's that quick save button. So thank you for joining me today. I hope that I was able to help you, move you forward a little bit with learning Mortgage Coach. Remember, we're here to help. If you need anything and you're in Mortgage Coach and you're stuck, don't be afraid to use the chat box. Use that chat box in that lower right. Talk to the staff. If they can't help you, if you get stuck, feel free to email me, tina@mortgagecoach.com as well. And if I'm available, I will step in and help you as well. So we're here to help you out. Thank you again. Have a great day, and I hope that everyone has an amazing month this month. Bye-bye.